So I would like us to begin today with some meditation. Let ourselves settle in. So if you have your meditation practice, just do your own practice that you're used to. If you don't have a particular practice, basically you can simply close your eyes and keep your back relatively straight. And just bring your attention to your breath and your lower belly. Just below your belly button, just in that area. Let your breath settle into the belly. And just follow the breath. Stay with the breath in the belly. And if your mind wanders away, if your attention wanders away, simply just bring it back to your breath in the belly. And let's do that for a few minutes, and I will ring the bell at the end. Okay. So let's begin with our subject for today. So as I mentioned earlier before the meditation, I am a spiritual teacher. My name is Andreas Mouskos. And I particularly teach a spiritual path called the Diamond Approach. So today, I would like to explore with you a particular aspect of life that I think is very important, and particularly important for spiritual life, depth, and the depth of reality, going deeper into reality. Can you hear me well? Yeah, great. So I would like to begin with a quote. I will read to you from a book by one of my favorite authors, Nikos Kazantzakis, who is the author of Zorba the Greek. And he wrote many books. I don't know if you're familiar with Nikos Kazantzakis. And one of his less known books, but my most favorite book of his, is called Saviors of God, which is a very strange name, of course. Usually we think of God saving us. Here Kazantzakis is talking about saving God. So anyway, in this book, it's basically the distillation of his spiritual understanding, his wisdom that he gained over his life. You can find it interspersed in all his writings, but in this book, he summarized the whole thing in 90 pages. And we'd like to read to you about what he says about our experience. He's talking about the preliminaries of the journey. He's talking about the spiritual journey. And he says one of the things we need to do is distinguish clearly these bitter yet fertile human truths, flesh of our flesh, and admit them heroically. One, the human mind can perceive appearances only, and never the essence of things. Two, and not all appearances, but only the appearances of matter. Three, and more narrowly still, not even the appearances of matter, but only relationships between them. Four, and these relationships are not real and independent of human beings, for even these are their creations. Five, and they are not the only ones humanly possible, but simply the most convenient for our practical and perceptive needs. It's a very interesting statement, huh? So we don't really perceive reality with our mind, but only appearances. If you stop for a moment and really think about this, and I don't know if you're familiar with the findings of modern neuroscience and psychology, they are saying something very similar, actually. They're saying the way we perceive the world is not exactly the way the world really is. Yeah. So our five senses receive information, and our nervous system, our brain, forms, creates a particular image, a particular perception inside of the world outside. Is the world outside what we perceive? What we perceive is what we perceive. I was just looking at the chat. It seems like Camila cannot hear, so maybe she checked out and will come back in and see what happens. Okay, so going back to our conversation. So what we perceive, what we see, what we hear is dependent heavily on our senses, our eyes, our ears, etc. And then we construct what we believe to be out there. But we know already that there are other beings, like dogs, for example, that can hear sounds that we cannot hear. There are animals that can see things we cannot see. They see the heat emanating from, bodies, but we cannot see those things. So that begins to give you a sense of what Kazantzakis is talking about, the appearances of things, and not the appearances of things, but the relationships between them. And not all relationships, but the relationships that are convenient for our survival. And that's what scientists are saying today, that we perceive the world according to what evolution has determined is useful for us so that we can survive. It's a very fascinating thing. You see things and you perceive things, you perceive the world according to what evolutionarily we have figured out helps us survive and thrive. So we are making it up. You know, our reality, the reality that we live in, the reality that we experience is made up. So I will call this reality the surface. Yeah, the surface of things. And here we want to talk about the depth of reality. Yeah, and let me say a couple of things about what I mean by depth. You know, it's like when you meet somebody and you have a sense of this person has depth. Yeah, this person is deep. Yeah, and you feel a certain to that person. You know, usually we are drawn to people that have depth. They have a certain wisdom, a certain presence that feels, there is something substantial here in this person. They are not superficial. Yeah? You know what I'm talking about. It's hard to define it. It's hard to really put it in words, but you know what I'm talking about. So this is what we want to explore today. What is this depth? What does it mean? Does it have to remain vague and something that we just encounter here and there once in a while? Or is it something that we can actually explore, understand, and cultivate and develop in a systematic way? Well, of course, I'm bringing this question up because it is something we can cultivate. It is something we can systematically develop. Yeah? And that is what actually spiritual work is about, mostly. It's about developing, discovering the depth of reality, the depth of you. It's like you can think of it as, for example, horizontal, you know, looking, exploring, understanding, perceiving reality on the horizontal level, and perceiving the vertical dimension of reality. So what would the horizontal be? The horizontal might be like the physical world and how we perceive the physical world and how we relate, you know, to each other, functioning in the world, driving our car, going to the supermarket, buying food, cooking, eating, relating, going to the movies, you know, doing things, functioning. That will be the horizontal, the surface level of things, of reality. And it's important. I'm not saying that's not important. It is actually very important. Without these things, we will not be able to be here and explore the depth, right? So we have to have the capacity to function in the horizontal world, in the external physical universe, so that we can actually create the conditions for ourselves to be able to sit here and explore the depth. So what is the depth? The horizontal, the vertical, will be a vertical exploration of reality. So it's like if you explore yourself at a horizontal level, you're going to talk about your body, about your environment, your house, your car, your things, your relationships, your job, the things you like, the music you like, the movies you like, you know, where you take a walk, things like that. When you talk about verticality, the vertical aspect of you, you would start talking about your inner world, your inner experience, your thoughts, your feelings. And then you will begin to go deeper. It's like, okay, what is deeper than my feelings? Yeah. And then you start asking deeper kinds of questions like, what is the meaning of life? What am I? What is a human being? What is the true nature of reality? What is at the depth of things? What is underneath the surface? And probably these are the kinds of questions that all of you here are interested. That's why I think you are here. Otherwise, it's like, well, what are you doing here? You are interested in these kinds of questions. That's why you are here. You are interested in the depth. So is there a way to explore the depth in a systematic way to really discover this depth, the depth of you, the depth of reality? Yes. And that's what the spiritual path, that's what spirituality is all about. If you really think back about all the spiritual teachings that you are familiar with, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Taoism, yeah, they all speak about this depth. They speak about the world underneath the physicality, the world underneath the surface. They speak about the verticality, the vertical dimension, the depth. So in a way, the surface, if you really think about it, is like the surface of the ocean sits on the depth of the ocean. And the depth and the surface, of course, are not separate. It's like the water on the surface is mixing with the water in the depth, the currents. Yeah? So we cannot really separate it. Yeah? But you begin to get the feeling of how the depth and the surface are actually in a living relationship with each other. And to the degree to which the surface is connected to the depth, to that degree, the surface is informed by and is affected by the depth. An example, say there is a boat on the surface of the ocean, and there are waves, and they come and go, and the boat is just, just going, and yeah, it's unstable. Yeah, especially the more waves there are, and the stronger the waves and the bigger the waves, the more the boat will feel the instability. If you have an anchor that anchors the boat or the ship to the depth, and the deeper the anchor goes, the more stable the ship becomes. It's the same with us. Yes, the more you are aware of that depth, the more your surface life becomes informed, becomes affected by, becomes influenced by, shaped by your experience of the depth. And that is really what a spiritual path is about. That is really what the Diamond Approach is about. It's about discovering that vertical dimension, going deeper and deeper and deeper, discovering what we are about, what we are, and allowing that to inform, to shape, to influence how we live our lives, how we relate to each other, what we do our actions, our values, our behavior, our expressions. And then by extension, collectively, the more the collective body, the more the individuals of a society are grounded in their depth, in the vertical dimension, the more they will create a society that will express the values of that depth. The more they are disconnected, the individuals are disconnected from their depth, the more the surface will be chaotic and tumultuous and unstable. So, and this is something that we find experientially. Like if you engage in a systematic way in the exploration of your depth, the vertical dimension, the more you discover that and the deeper you go into that, the more you find there is a stillness, there is a peace, there is a stability, there is a harmony. That is what you are. That is who you are. And more gradually, the more that inner peace, that inner stability, that inner harmony is expressed in your speech, in your behavior, in your actions, in your relations, in your life in general. So we can say that depth, we can perceive of depth dimensionally as going deeper and deeper and deeper. But we can also conceptualize of depth as a directionality. Instead of being oriented externally at the horizontal level out there and depending on the external to tell us what we are and to tell us what to do and how to live our lives, which is what most of us do. That's what we learned as we grew, as we were growing up. We change our direction, and our directionality, our orientation becomes more vertical, more inner, more internal. And we are getting our cues from the inner dimension, or the inner dimensions of reality. Then we find that we are not as easily influenced by the external, by what people say, by what people do. It's like somebody says, Andreas, I think you are full of it. Yeah? And I don't react. And I don't feel offended. And they say, why do you think that? What makes you think I'm full of it? And they say their opinion, and oh, very interesting. And instead of getting offended, I am understanding now something about that person. What their values are, what their orientation is, and what the filter is through which they are seeing me and seeing that I am full of shit. Yeah. So it becomes a learning experience that I have learned something about the other person. And maybe I've learned something about myself that, oh, when I said that, they, through their filter, heard it as, and that's how they drew that conclusion. Like, for example, somebody in the past, got up and left, walked away from me, saying, you're not a spiritual teacher. You're fake. I said, oh, what makes you think that? She says, well, I mean, listen to the language you just used. Shit. What kind of spiritual person says shit? You know? And I realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that word because people perceive me as not spiritual. But then I thought about it again and I thought, well, a person that is really at that level of understanding that they think spirituality has to do with whether you say shit or not, I don't think they have a lot of capacity to really go deeper. So I'm going to say shit. So you see, it informs me. That understanding the other person, help me understand something about myself and make a decision about how I express myself. Yeah. So understanding is a crucial, fundamental, central component of going deeper. To go deeper, we have to understand. Understand ourselves, understand other people, understand our interactions, understand our world, understand reality. So we inquire. That's why in the Diamond approach, we have the main practice of the Diamond approach is inquiry. We inquire into things. We want to understand. We want to understand our feelings. We want to understand our thoughts. We want to understand our inner experience. What influences it? What affects it? What shapes it? What is the filter that was installed by our parents that makes us like this particular lady that thought I was not a spiritual person because I used the word shit? Yeah, she had a filter that was very specific. Yeah, she was a very devout Christian from a particular Christian denomination, where that people were taught, and in her family they were taught, you don't use those bad words. Bad words are used by people who are not spiritual. You see? So we want to understand these kinds of things, So, you may not have that filter because, I said that word how many times now and you are still here. You haven't checked out. You haven't dropped out of this meeting. But what other filters do you have? What can I say? How many things can I say that you can actually still receive and hear? And how many things can I say? What can I say that you react to? And you feel angry, and you feel upset, and you feel hurt, and you feel... So we want to understand. The more I understand my reactions and the filters that create my reactions, the more I can go deeper into myself. It's like I'm going deeper from that surface that Kazantzakis was talking about, the phenomena, the appearances. That's what phenomenon means, actually, appearance. It's a Greek word, phenomenon, means appearance. So it's like I am just going deeper from what it appears to be to what influences my perception of it, and so freeing it from that, I can see more clearly, and then deeper than that, and deeper than that, who am I? What am I? If I'm not my thoughts, and I'm not the words that I'm saying, and I'm not, am I my feelings? It's a good question. Am I my feelings? Am I my thoughts? Who is it? Who am I who has the feelings and the thoughts? You see, I'm going deeper now. I'm not staying at the feeling level and at the thought level. I'm going deeper and saying, what am I? And as you explore that, we find, oh, I am actually a presence. I am a substantiality. And this substantiality, that is a substance, that is not physical, but I can taste it, I can touch it with my inner touch, this inner substance that is a presence, that is here now. That's what presence means. There is a presence, and this presence has different qualities. It can feel like love. And when I feel it as love, it is like this soft, gentle, warm, smooth substance that is has this lovingness to it. And maybe even I perceive the color of it. It's pink. Love is pink. And I discover, I am made of love. And then maybe I go deeper. And deeper I find that, or maybe sideways, maybe it's not deeper. I find that, there is a variation of this love that has kindness in it, and is actually not pink. It's still warm, it's still soft, it's gentle, has lovingness in it, but also kindness in it. And it's actually green. And I recognize it as, that's compassion. I thought compassion was a feeling. And I discover at a deeper dimension that compassion is actually a presence that I am. And maybe I can go deeper and find that as this loving kindness deepens, it becomes a deeper green. It becomes emerald green, deep emerald. It becomes like an objective compassion that has a deep greenness, a deep emerald greenness to it, that becomes so deep, such deep green, that it's almost black. It becomes very, very deep black, deep green. And the deeper the green becomes, that kindness, that is a loving kindness, becomes a peaceful, quiet, still, loving kindness. And then I realize that as I go deeper into that compassion, I discover peace. And then I discover that, oh wow, this deeper dimension of me, as I go deeper into my verticality, this presence that I discovered, this substantiality that I am, is actually also peace. And it is a substantiality, it is a presence that can morph into love, into compassion, into peace, into joy, into many pleasure, into many different qualities. So you see, in this exploration that we are just, as I'm saying these things, aren't you having something like of that same experience? Isn't your experience kind of matching my experience a bit? Yeah, we are exploring together. We are inquiring together into the fundamental nature of what we are. And we are discovering together that I am love, I am compassion, I am joy, I am peace. You are peace. You are love. And from that depth, you see what the word depth now has a different meaning for you, doesn't it? From that depth of your true nature, what you truly are, your true self, your more real self, you can actually begin to come out and have more peaceful, more loving interactions. If we were to, go into breakout rooms now in dyads or triads, 3 people together and interact, you will be coming from this deeper place that you are experiencing right now. Your interactions will be informed, will be shaped by your inner experience, by your depth. And the deeper you go, the deeper your exploration goes, the deeper your exploration takes you into the nature of reality, because your nature is none other than the nature of reality. You see, I am love. I am peace. You are love. You are peace. And when we experience that, we also know that everybody else also is that, even if they don't know it. But it's not only everybody, everything is made of this substantial presence. Because when we go deeper into it, I find that, oh my goodness, this deep black peace, that is quiet stillness, that is just silence, is not contained within my body. It spreads everywhere. It fills the room. It fills the whole space. And the whole space between us, wherever you are, whether you are in Boulder, Colorado, or in Europe, or in Africa, the whole space between us is filled with this peace, with this love, with this compassion. And you know it experientially. Nobody has to convince you of it, and nobody can convince you otherwise. Once you know what you really are, you know it. Nobody can convince you otherwise. It's not a belief system. It's a spiritual path. Spiritual path means you discover experientially what you are. So please, don't believe anything I tell you. I don't want you to believe what I tell you, because I'm not here to form a belief system and find people to follow my belief system. What I want is for those people who are interested, come join me. Let's explore and discover the truth together. You discover the truth of what you are. Don't believe what I say. If you just believe, it makes me very sad, actually, because it means I have failed as a spiritual teacher. have become something else. Maybe a cult leader, or something that people just believe, Don't. So please don't believe what I tell you. If it makes sense to you, consider it, explore it, discover the truth for yourself. The truth is within you. The truth is your depth. I cannot tell you what your truth is. And if I tell you and you feel, oh yeah, and you agree, it's because you feel the truth within you, and what I'm saying resonates with your experience. Then, okay. But if you believe me without having the experience itself, Andreas said, please don't. So we want to explore the depth, discover the depth. And it is my hope that we all together can explore these things and the depth of what we are. And if enough of us go deeply enough and establish ourselves in this depth, maybe at some point we can create a better civilization. A civilization that is based on truth, that is based on love, that is based on peace, rather than what we have these days. I don't think it's a reflection of the harmony and the peace of the depth. It is a reflection of the chaotic, ungrounded surface that is not informed by the values of the depth. That's what I think. And again, don't believe me. But does it make sense to you? What is the truth that makes sense to you? If you disagree with me, great, disagree. Let's have a lively discussion. There have been times when I have had those discussions and I was delightfully discovered that I was wrong. And it's great when I discover I was wrong, because now, yes, now I have deeper truth. So the truth that you discover is not final. It's not something that we freeze and say, I have the truth. That's frozen, rigidified truth that, because the truth is a living truth. The depth is a living depth that is alive and reveals itself in each moment. It is not alive. It's a stale concept, memory, idea of the truth that I experienced yesterday or a moment ago. So this exploration into truth is an alive exploration, moment by moment, by moment, by moment. In each moment, we discover the truth again. In each moment, we discover a deeper truth, perhaps. And we move and we live and we swim in this truth. And we become the truth. And we become a living expression of the truth. That is continually discovered. That is not stale. That is not ever pinned down. It's this truth is unpinned downable. I just made that word up. Unpin-downable. You cannot pin it down. If you can pin it down, it's an old truth. We don't know if it's still true. Yeah? So we want to always continually remain aware in the moment and find the truth, the living truth. Continually and without stagnation. So anyway, I think I can, as you probably can tell, I can go on talking about this for days because it's such an inexhaustible subject matter. And it is continually alive. You know, it's like I wrote some notes down yesterday and then I changed them this morning. And as I'm talking, it changed again. Because it's a living truth. It's a living exploration. So we can go on and explore it from a different angle and a different angle. And it's inexhaustible. That's why, you know, we are forming a group, the Diamond Heart 10 group, to explore this. For those of you who are really interested in exploring these things deeply, we will go on exploring for as long as you are interested to explore. You know? If you are interested to go on for 5 years, you will go on. If you are interested to go on for 20 years, you can go on. I've been going on with this exploration on this path for 35 years. Yeah, and I started my exploration when I remember I was 13 years old, exploring these things in Cyprus, you know, with somebody who was dishing out his beliefs. He didn't last in my book. You know, I just stayed a couple of years and then I realized, oh, and I left. And then somebody else, and then somebody else, you know. So I explored different things until I discovered this path, the Diamond Approach, 35 years ago. And I realized, oh my God, this is a living path. This is a living teaching. This is not a belief system. So when we have a teaching like this, because this is a teaching, you know, a teaching is an experiential exploration. You know, so we don't just talk, we then put it into practice. So we, in the Diamond Approach, we do exercises. Seems like some people are just coming in. It's maybe the time, they got the time differently. So those of you who just joined, I'm just finishing the talk and I'm going to give the exercise. But you know, we are recording this, and so you will get the recording and you can listen to it later. So I would like us to go into triads, 3 people together, into breakout rooms. And Laurie is going to put you into triad, into breakout rooms. And 3 people together, I would invite you to really apply this exploration that we did together here into your own personal exploration in the format of what we call in the Diamond Approach a monologue. Some of you have done it already. If you are new to this process, I will tell you. So basically, what we want to do is talk. You know, so 3 people together, 2 people are observing, and 1 person is just exploring out loud. And the exploration is going to be explore your ideas and experience of depth. Explore your ideas and experience of depth. What does it mean to you? What do you value about depth? Okay, and you'll do that for 10 minutes. And then the next person will go for 10 minutes, and then the next person will go for 10 minutes. And that will be half hour. And then we'll take 10 minutes break. So we will be back about give time for Lori to do the breakout rooms. So we'll be back at about 11:45 or 45 minutes from now.